Hey guys, it is
I told
Tonya,
you.
Thrifty Treasures, and today I have Jen, the Pudgy Picker here, and Tam from Tam's Place. And this is going to be the first show in a brand new series we're going to be doing called Antique Booth Talk. And the show will be rotating, so next month it will be on Jen's channel, and we're going to plan on doing it once a month, the first Wednesday of every month. Jen, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, everybody should know who I am by now. I'm also known as Pudgy Picker here on YouTube. I sell in an antique booth, and I also sell on eBay.
Awesome. Tam?
Hey guys, it is Tam, and I am here in Kentucky around the Lexington area, and I have an antique booth. I do not sell on eBay. I just have an antique booth, so glad to be here. Thanks, Tonya.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys joined me. Okay, so Jen, did you say where you're from?
No, I already messed
too.
up in the first 2 minutes.
So
no, I'm Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, guys, and I am from Houston, Texas. Let's see. So I guess the first thing we want to let everybody know is all three of us are antique booth owners, and we're all in different parts of the U.S., so I thought that would be a really unique perspective. And Jen, you want to talk about the size of your booth and like maybe what your monthly rent is?
Well, I've been doing this for almost 9 years. I've had all different size booths. Currently, I have, it's a 10 by 10, and I go about 7 feet up, so I have room to hang stuff as well. So, and my monthly rent is $160. And I also have to work 2 work days. Since I share the booth with my sister, I work 1 day a month and she works 1 day a month. And we could have paid a little bit higher and got no percentage taken off, but we also pay 10% of what we're selling for the 160.
Right. What about you, Tam?
My booth size is a 7 by 8, and I pay $100 a month. It is one of the, I guess you'd call it medium-sized booths. They have smaller, like shelving units, and then they have bigger booths that are $165 a month.
Okay.
So yeah.
And I don't know the exact measurements of mine. It's pretty small. It's pretty narrow. I would say it's probably about a 5 by 10, and I pay about $90 a month. And I also bring stuff all the way up to the ceiling pretty much too. I have shelves on either side that my dad and grandpa built for me. And yeah, I'll hang stuff from the very top. There's built-in pegboards there. So I'm jam-packed full of stuff. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure y'all are too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way that my booth is set up, it's kind of in the middle of the antique mall, sort of. So I have like, there's no walls, and my antique booth doesn't have any electricity.
Okay, so everything's open?
Everything's pretty much open, so I have to have shelving units all around. There's no like walls where I can hang stuff or anything like that. I have to use all shelving units.
Right.
Wow, that makes it a little bit more challenging because I have the back wall and I have 2 side walls.
Right.
And I do pay for electricity because not every booth in our mall has electricity. So it's like $5 a month, which is included in that 160. Yeah.
I actually ran a cord from my neighbor's booth with one of those strips, like the outlet strip. So I have electricity in my booth too, but they don't charge extra for it, thank goodness. And one of the things that we didn't talk about or discuss that we would, but that Tam brought up is location. And I think that's a great point, like where your booth is located within your mall. And she said hers is located in the middle, and actually mine is pretty much in the middle too. What about yours, Jen?
I think when you come in, the tendency is to go to one end and then zigzag your way back. We're like 2 booths from the checkout, so that seems to be helpful. And a lot of people, when they're walking back, we have a cafe and the bathroom, restroom area. So it's one of the 2 aisles that if you're coming straight in to go there, you'd pass by ours. And saying that the last mall I used to be in is twice as big as the mall that I'm currently in, and that has a lot to do with it too. Because if
Right.
people come in and they're there for a couple hours and they're pooped out, if you're, on one end, people may not get to you. So that's a big thing.
And I think that's a great point that you bring up. The first booth I had one with my grandma, and we were actually on the very far end of the store. And so then whenever I moved and I was on my own, I was lucky enough to be able to get something like, I think, actually I'm on the same aisle as you would walk down to check out at the register. So it's like right smack dab in the middle. So it's a good location. Okay, so then I wanted to talk about like what kind of items that we stock our booths with, our inventory, like bread and butter items, maybe best sellers that you would recommend people picking up. Jen, you want to go first?
I think everybody on the planet knows I sell fabric.
Right.
And that is a major, major bread and butter item. I have a following, people who come in straight for that particular item. And I've been keeping track probably the last couple months, and each paycheck between probably $45 to $65 a check is just fabric.
Wow.
So that's an absolute bread and butter item I carry. As far as other items, specific items, not necessarily categories, I carry incense. My sister makes little zipper pouches and some other handmade items. So people come in and look, for those items. I carry certain categories. Since we live near the lake, I'm always carrying nautical. Nautical always does really well for me. Even like any kind of shells and everything else, but of course Lake Erie, we're a freshwater lake, so there's certain things we don't have, but people love the nautical themes as well.
Right. And one thing I want to say real quick before we get to Tam is about the fabric. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jen, you have a video on how to measure and price the fabric, right?
Yes, I do. And my fabric ends up being like $3 a yard. And then I have a little chart that I have. So as I'm measuring it, that's how I'm pricing it out. So
yes, I need to go back and watch that video because I have acquired some fabric. And if it's selling that good, I need to get in on that for sure.
Yeah, you get a following. There are people who come in and look for it. And when I left the other antique mall, and there was like a 3-month gap between when I started this one, people, when I first started at this new place 2 years ago already, people would come in and see, and the style, how I had it displayed, they're like, there you are. I wondered where you went. So, there are people that come in, and there's one lady has a little walker thing with a place to sit, and she touches every piece of fabric when she's there. I just love watching her, digging through. So
that's so sweet.
You get regular customers when you have something that they always can rely is there.
Yeah, that's a great point. What about you, Tam? What kind of items do you stock?
Pretty much everything. I have, like, our vendor mall, they allow us to have clothes as long as they're clean, washed, pressed. So clothes, I do sell a lot of clothes. I carry designer purses, and I do sell a lot of those. This last month was really good for me for designer purses. Household items. I do have some fabric. Last month when our vendor mall was moving, the fabric that I had in there, I sold quite a bit. And I think what I did was I sold it to a lot of the other vendors that were needing it to use for display in their booth.
There you go.
Yeah.
I tell you, vendors are the best customers.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
I buy stuff all the time at my mall.
Yeah, I do too.
We do have a question in the chat from Lauren Cotto. She says, Jen, can you share where you buy your incense and what kind? Now, I don't know if that's something that you want, a resource you want to give up.
I buy it maybe once every 6 months. I buy, it's from India, and they're in individual boxes, and I think there's like 8 in each box. And you can go around and look for wholesale incense, and you'll find tons of it. And but it does pretty well. I get it, and it costs me maybe like 60 cents for each box, and I sell it for $2. and each. So sometimes I'll sell, you know, a couple, and then other times come in and somebody bought like 20 of them. So, you know, it's something that does well. And since we have to have individual prices, we can't just have a sign on things in our mall that I have to price everything individually. The boxes do really well. So, you know, yeah, do wholesale incense, Google it, and you'll be inundated.
All right, and I have a quick question for both of you. When you put fabric in your booth, like what are you displaying it in? A basket? Or like, is it on in a basket on the ground, or do you put it up on a table? How do you display it?
I actually recently bought, I don't know if it was Walmart that I got them from online. They're the cubbies. And the one I get, it's 6 cubbies, 2 wide, 3 tall. And it's probably a good 4.5 feet tall. And I got 2 of them and I put them back to back. And it's just the right size to, once I have the fabric rolled up, is just to stack them in there. So I do occasional booth tours. So if anybody wants to, you know, look at it, they can take a look at that on my channel.
Right, and someone just said in the chat, I believe it was Lauren also. She asked if we had any antique booth pictures, and maybe next time that's something for our next show. Maybe we could screen share and show everybody what our booths look like.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually working on doing a fall booth tour for mine to upload.
Right.
But I'll have that, you know, when we meet next time.
Okay, and how do you display your fabric, Tan?
Well, it's kind of funny. I bought at my local thrift store. It was a wine holder, and it's in the shape of a fish.
Oh,
And
how cute!
it's probably about 2.5 or 3 feet wide and probably about 1.5 feet tall, and it has several little holes for the wine to go in. And so I just roll the fabric up and stick it in where the wine is supposed to go and display it like that. There's probably about 10 or 12 holes there. I don't have a lot of fabric, but I do have a little bit in there. So
that is very creative. I love that idea.
And it just sets on the floor.
It really depends on how much you have. I literally have probably 500 pieces of fabric in my booth right now. And with the system that I have with the cubbies, it takes up a very small amount of space. So that's...
Yeah, and you just went to that auction, Jen, so you have a whole lot of fabric.
Oh my gosh. I spent about $90, and they have the milk crates. I got about 15 milk crates full. So I priced all of it. I sized it. I did everything I had to do, priced it out, spent $90, and it came to about $1,400.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So auctions, I find it, garage sales, occasionally the thrift store, but garage sales too, I do really well. People have stuff a bag for $1. So wherever I can find it, you know, but the auction one, holy cow. Oh, when I came home, my husband's like, "What were you thinking?"
I've
like,
had a lot of instances like that.
Yeah. They don't even ask anymore. They just shake their head.
Right. So Rachel, I hope that answers your question. She was asking Jen where you found all of your fabrics. So I think that pretty much covered it. And for me, as far as items that I put in my antique booth, bread and butter items, of course, I love to pick up the jewelry. I know, Jen, you do that.
I just do earrings, yeah.
Just earrings, okay. Mm-hmm. And globes sell well for me. And I also live close to the ocean, so nautical stuff does really well in my booth too. Oh my goodness, we got a Tater here.
There's Tater.
Oh,
hi,
Tater. He came to see Mama, huh?
Yeah, she's probably tired of barking.
Right, exhausted.
Getting all tangled up here. Go on.
Okay, so the next question, I guess, is going to be where we source our inventory, like as a whole, like where we're going to find the items at, besides our antique malls. Jen, you want to go first?
Well, I garage sale. It's seasonal here in Ohio, so we're starting to wind down now. So once that kind of tapers off, I go to auctions. And then all year round, I do thrifting, thrift stores, estate sales. So yeah, that's pretty much. But seasonal garage sales. I don't know if I could handle it if it was year round. It would probably kill me.
Right, and that's how my garage sales are year round, and yeah, I have some death piles I'm working on, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Tam? Where do you source your inventory?
Pretty much the same. When I first started, it was back in February, so there wasn't any garage sales. So thrift stores, other vendor malls.
Right.
I have found stuff at other vendor malls and been able to put it in my booth, mark it up, and it sells. So that kind of surprises me. But yeah, I'm the same as Jen. Like, yard sale isn't year round here. It's only, a season. So what I've actually been trying to do this year is trying to buy as much as I possibly can during yard sale season, to hopefully stock my booth through until next yard sale season.
That's what I do.
That's
Yep.
smart.
Because I'm telling you, Goodwill, I used to try to go to Goodwill, but they've raised their prices so much that, I can't really find anything. Sometimes I can find little articles of clothing here and there, but as far as like household stuff or anything like that, their prices have just got crazy.
Yeah, they really have. As a matter of fact, the Goodwills here in my area just recently lowered the price. They had raised it by 50 cents and then not too long ago, and then now they've lowered it back. So
Oh, wow.
I think they're starting to hear our concerns about that, for sure.
Yep.
Let's see. So what were we talking about? Where we source
So
our
do you
inventory?
guys have savers in your area?
I do not.
Mm-mm.
Okay, because that's Monday. The savers, all used items are half off, everything.
Oh, wow.
So that is, I don't know what I would do without that. And I have two savers that I hit on Monday. One opens at 7 a.m. and the other one opens at 9 a.m. So I managed to be at both places when they open. If I had to go to other thrift stores on other days, I don't know how I would manage.
Yeah, I love watching your savers haul, Jen.
Yeah,
I always say I wish that we had a savers here. Is there another company that's owned also by savers that's called something else? It seems like I was looking online and there's another thing. It's not called Savers, but it's called something else. And it seemed like the closest one to me was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, we had one that was before it became Savers. All their advertising, everything the way it was set up looked just like Savers, and it was called Unique.
Yes, that's it.
So so I'm thinking that's what it was, because they did 50% off too on Mondays before Savers ever took them. And even when they changed the name out front, it says Savers, a unique thrift store. So I think they're still hanging on to that name, but that's probably what you're thinking of.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so then the next little topic here I have is, and I think this is also a good question, if anyone in the audience is looking to rent an antique booth of your own, you might want to ask how strict they are about the items that you stock your booth with. Do they have to be antiques? Or are they more flexible? Can it be modern stuff? Tam, you want to go first on this one?
Sure, yeah. My antique mall is not particular on that. We can sell pretty much, anything. It doesn't have to all be antiques. Like I said, we can sell jewelry, clothing. It doesn't have to be antique. It can be, modern stuff. I've got, a few home decor modern stuff in my antique booth. So yeah, they're not strict in my area at all.
What about yours, Jen?
Certain things, it doesn't have to be antique. In fact, I don't know if we mentioned the name of my antique mall is called Antiques and Uniques. So they're not strictly, it has to be a certain era, has to be a certain type. So they're very flexible on that. We are not allowed to sell clothes. It is a city ordinance. You have to have a special, license or permit. And I guess it's very expensive. And within the city limits of where our mall is, there's not even thrift stores there. So I don't know if it was the bed bug fear, because I know Cleveland has a big problem with that. So I don't know if that was what it was. But we have no clothes. People try and sneak it in, but if you get caught with that, But as far as that, people can even have pornography as long as it's covered. They can have knives as long as they're locked up. No oil in lamps. I mean, that's like you said, you know, if you're considering going in someplace, say, could you please give me a paper of what's allowed and not allowed, to make sure that, you know, when you get in there, you're like, oh man, I was going to sell a huge amount of this particular item and I'm not allowed.
Yeah,
So
definitely
check
a
that
great
out.
question
Yeah.
to ask. Definitely. And my booth, it's not the mall. It's not strict at all. I could make some bows today, like I would make for my daughter, and put them on a card and go sell them in my booth tomorrow. So I can put pretty much anything in there. And I even, this is so funny, so I have to say this, Jen will sell those little bitty plants in her booth. What are they called again? Lucky Bamboo?
Yeah, Lucky Bamboo.
So I saw that she was selling that, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that. So I even had live plants in my booth for a little while. So anything goes in the location where I'm at, for sure.
Yeah. One thing I should mention too, and I think I've mentioned this on my channel, is if you have furniture, blankets, pillows, stuffed animals, anything that is not collectible, that is usable, stuffed, filled merchandise, has to be sprayed. Again, it's the bed bug concern, and we have to pay the mall owner to spray items. So if you have a couch, I mean, that's costly. It's like $15 to get it sprayed, all the way down to maybe $3 for a stuffed animal or that kind of items. So that is something else that is a big consideration, that if I go to buy something, that is an added cost. So, you know, that's something you have to consider when you're buying for our mall. So I don't know, I've had a lot of people comment on my videos saying, that's not true around us. So is that something you guys have to deal with there?
I have a blanket, or a quilt rather, in my booth right now, and nobody's ever said anything to me about there having to be rules or brought it to my attention. What about yours, Tam?
No, people have quilts and, you know, like baby bumper pads and, you know, different items like that. And no, they're not strict on that. But the lady that owns the vendor mall, she's pretty strict on all the vendors, and she makes sure that everything's tidy and neat, and, you know, nobody's booth looks bad. I mean, she runs a pretty tight ship, and I'm glad, because the place looks really nice because of that. I mean, I've been in some vendor malls that it's just like, some booths look horrible. There's stuff thrown in there, and just people don't care about their booths. It's just like a storage unit for them, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can't even walk in them. I mean, you just stand there and look. I mean, there's some I wouldn't even step in. I'd be afraid I'd break my neck. You know?
That's so funny. And that kind of leads into our next question, which is, how often are you having to go to your antique booth and restock it and tidy up and take care of it? I'll go first on this one. For me right now, I really can only make it out to my booth once a week. And maybe lately with summer and all this Harvey hurricane mess, it's more like once every 2 weeks. But now come Monday, when the kids get back into school full time, I'll definitely be able to make it out there at least once a week, if not more often. What about you, Tam? How often? It sounds like you got a pretty strict owner over there. So
yeah. I usually go at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. It just depends. If it's around the holiday, it depends on, you know, several factors. But usually I go about once a week to restock and check and, you know, make sure everything looks nice. And and one thing about the lady that owns the vendor mall, her and a couple of other people that work there, when somebody buys something, a lot of times they'll do a walk around, and if there's something like out of place or something that looks like it's messed up in one of the booths, they'll kind of fix it and you know, do that kind of for you, which is a plus. Nice. Yeah, it's really nice that they do that.
Definitely. What about you, Jen?
Well, this comes to a point of, again, how many days a week is your mall open? Ours is open 5 days a week. We are closed Monday and Tuesdays. So I get out there once a week. In fact, today is my day that I go out. I straighten first, and then I restock, or I restock and then I straighten, because there's nothing worse than straightening and then you're standing there trying to move stuff around again to put something in. But Wednesday I go out for probably a couple of hours to get straightened up, and I may pop in over the weekend to just do a quick straighten. I'm like maybe 12 to 14 minutes away from my mall, so I think that's probably another consideration. If you live a distance,
Definitely.
it's probably more difficult just to pop in and do a quick straighten.
You're right. I would say location is definitely something you should consider. Go ahead.
I saw a comment in the chat. Is it common to need a permit to sell in the mall? And do you have to carry any kind of insurance? In my area, no. There's no permit to be able to sell. There's no, we don't have to carry insurance. The owner takes care of all that. So.
Right. I think that's the same with mine. I don't remember filling out any paperwork like that. So
yeah.
Yeah, you don't have, in ours, you don't have to have a permit. You can choose to insure your items that are in your booth, because that is not the responsibility. They, of course, insure their business and the building and, that type of thing. But I've never chose to do that. So I don't know. It's a choice you can make. I don't even know how much something like that would cost.
yeah, I don't either. Let's see. So I guess let's go ahead and answer some questions in the chat before I get behind. Let's see. Lauren Cotto asked, what are some good fall sellers? Is it different inventory? Do we want to touch on this maybe next show, or do y'all want to touch on it now? I'm good either way.
Yeah, I could basically touch on it. I have, if you check out my channel with the booth tours, I have a 25 by 25 metal stand with glass shelves, and I do a lot of seasonal, and I change out that display about once a month. So just seasonal items, fall items. People are ready to snap that up, and as Tam mentioned, when you're garage sailing, that's a prime time to pick up fall, winter, spring items, and then I just bring those items home and then put them in bins that are marked for the season. So when it's time to decorate for that season, I just pull that out, price everything, and out it goes.
Yeah, that's a great idea, especially, being so organized. That's good.
It saves a lot of time and stress and energy.
Right, I bet. Let's see. So,
and I actually haven't gone through a fall season yet, so I don't really know. This will be a learning experience this fall for me, so to know what sells and what doesn't during the fall. So
yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes for you. I can't wait to hear about it. So Karen's at the beach asked another fabric question. She says, I have over 10 yards of vintage dot lace tulle, don't have a booth. Would you sell by the yard or sell entire 10 yards?
A lot of, if I get fabric and it's especially different, interesting vintage, I will sell it on eBay. And for that, I would probably do the research, sell it on eBay. If it's a vintage piece or it's a large chunk, people will buy that. I would not cut that up at all.
Right. Okay. Let's see, we answered that one. Vincent is in the chat, Vintage Vinny, and he says,
Hi, Vinny.
Every place is different, but what are payments for the rent like? Okay, Vincent, we did talk about that. Mine's $90 a month. I think Tam's is $100, right?
yes,
And I think Jen said $160. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then Lonnie's asking about sales tax. Are y'all having to file sales tax?
No, not me. The vendor owner takes care of all that. She charges sales tax, so we don't have to worry about that, which is a plus. Yay.
Right. Right. Same here. Definitely.
Yeah. We can choose to do that. Why anyone would choose to do that, to keep track of that, I don't know what mental issues you'd have to do that willingly. But I think our mall charges $2 a month, and they take care of all that. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. That I couldn't imagine having to deal with all that.
Right.
Right. I agree. Okay, so then let's go on through our outline and talk about some of the challenges of owning a booth, and also, by the same token, the benefits of owning a booth. This is a kind of a twofer question. Tam, you want to go first?
Sure. Probably the biggest challenge that I have is storage, because I mean, I do have a garage, but I don't have a basement or an outbuilding. So I've got, like, my garage is getting pretty full, where I've been yard selling all season, and I have stuff around my house that I'm working on. And so my house kind of stays a mess all the time. I try to clean it up from time to time, but that's probably the biggest challenge. And I guess the benefit would be, I love doing it. It's so much, it is so much fun, because I meet some of the most interesting people when I'm out thrifting and yard selling, and find, you know, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about when you say, when you find that one thing and you're so excited and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I found that, you know, the thrill of the hunt, I guess.
Definitely.
Is the benefit. If you like doing that, then you'll love doing this. So yeah.
Right. Okay, Jen, what about you? What would you say would be the challenge and then the benefit for you?
Yeah, storage is not really an issue for me right now. I know everyone's going to throw their rotten tomatoes at me, but because I know that's a big thing.
Oh, but you're blessed.
Oh my gosh, I have a full-size basement, so I'm able to keep my eBay inventory, as well as you know, stuff that's ready to go out, or stuff that needs a little TLC before it goes out. So that's, but being organized in that space. So when I say, oh, we're kind of thinking about, you know, doing this type of item, you know, featuring it in the front of our booth, being able to lay your hands on those items, so you can have all the space in the world, but if you don't know where anything is, it's going to be a nightmare to find anything. So I kind of try to keep things organized, so that when fall does roll around, I'm not like, oh my gosh, where is everything? I can go, I have a couple of really big tubs that things are in, just pull it out and I'm ready to go. Because that, you know, being organized on the front end of that, of bringing stuff in, it will save you so much grief and aggravation down the road when you need to get your hands on those items, like right now. So that's a challenge. Like Tam said, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I keep telling my husband, you know, as long as it's fun, I'm going to keep doing it. And I just, you know, I just love, like you said, the hunt, finding something. When you see something for $1 that you know you can get a lot, and you like pay for it, and you're like, oh, all the way to the car. It's so fun. It is, because you see something and you're like, you know, you're just like inside, you're just so excited. So it is a lot of fun. Very much. So if you don't love it, it's going to be very hard to be successful at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. We do have a question in the chat, or a request rather, from Beauty for Ashley's. I believe the chat just moved up. I couldn't see her name. And she asked if we could do a video of our antique booths. And I know for a fact Jen has some footage of that. I do too. Tam, do you have some footage of your booth on your channel?
No, I don't, because the thing is, kind of when I started my YouTube channel was the booth, or the antique mall that I was in, was getting ready to move to another location. And so I didn't really bother with trying to do, you know, a video. And plus, where I was new and everything, I'm still trying to learn how to do everything.
Right.
So, but like I said, I'm going to try to do a fall booth tour. You know, when I get everything's pretty much how I want it. But I'm working on that. So
right.
Hopefully that'll be coming soon.
Yes, we'd love to see that. So for me, as far as the challenge and the benefit for me, I would say the challenge, I'm a lot like Tam with storage. Our house is not, you know, really huge, and we don't have a lot of extra room. So my stuff sometimes spills over into other rooms, and definitely into the garage. But I can still park my car in there, thank God.
You just got to get a running start.
Right?
Yeah, lucky you. We can't get a car in our garage right now, but I'm working on that.
But yeah, I definitely, I am semi-organized. I mean, I do have a really big bin full of Christmas stuff. So I'll definitely be getting that out and pricing it. I don't know, it just completely slipped my mind to be focusing and doing the same for Halloween for the booth. Maybe I just didn't find as much Halloween stuff as I did the Christmas stuff. But, and the benefit for me would be, I can sell the bigger items in my antique booth, right, that I can't sell on eBay. And I can also, I really like the idea of putting breakables in my antique booth and not having to worry about the pain of packaging that up and shipping it if it sells on eBay, and then having to wait to get that feedback, you know, and make sure and just hope and pray it didn't break on the way.
Yep.
So like you probably won't see me selling a whole lot more of cookie jars on eBay. That's probably going to be something that I just strictly put in my booth from here on out. So what about you guys? You guys have a lot of breakables, or I know you don't sell on eBay, Tam, but Jen, do you ship breakables?
Yes, and unfortunately this week I had a tea set that I sold, and one of the cups handle got broke.
Oh.
So I managed to get that, you know, I did some real good customer service, and I actually got a positive feedback from the person, so that was good. But also really larger items. We have a furniture room in the back of our store, and each vendor is allowed to have a certain amount of items that can go back there, or they have areas to hang very large artwork or very large pieces. So we're able to put items back there. So if I have something really big, it's nice just to put it there, and I don't have to worry about Craigslist or any of that stuff. And in fact, that's something we can do in our booth is I can put an item in there. I can put it on Craigslist, directing them to the store.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so if you can try that too, because then you don't have the safety concern, and you don't have to babysit the item and all that other stuff and wait for people to show up. And so that's something else that I try and do too, is snap a picture, put it on there, direct them to the store. It's more traffic to the store too, so it works out good all around.
That's a good idea, Jen.
Very good. Our antique mall used to have something like that where they had a common area for the bigger pieces, but then they did away with it. So we don't really have that option anymore. So if I can't fit it in my booth, then I guess I'll just have to move it another way. Let's see here. So I guess we're pretty much working our way towards the end of the outline. And if anybody has any questions in the chat, go ahead and type them, and I'll be sure and catch them. Just be sure you write question in all caps so I can see it real clearly. Let's see. Beauty for Ashley says, what has been your largest month profit to date? Who wants to take that one first?
Well, I don't. How long have you guys been doing this? I'm like on year 9, so that's a lot to remember.
Right. I'm coming up on my 3rd year.
Okay, and I've been doing this since February.
Wow, I'm like the old lady of the group. Well, we were 7 years in the previous area, which is a more rural area, and then the one I'm in now is closer to my home, and it's more cityfied. And the best thing about it too is, I don't know about your malls, but the first place didn't have a lot of drive-by traffic. The area it's located is you're going somewhere else, or you're specifically in that area for a reason. Our second mall is, I mean, there's people driving by like all day long. So it's a very quick place to say, hey, I'm going to have to go in there. And we get a lot of our traffic from people just driving by. So we've been there 2 years. I would say, gosh, if I had to guess, I would say probably the biggest, I don't know about monthly profit, but the biggest check I've had was probably a good $700, $750.
Oh, wow.
And that's not a usual thing for me by any means. but I don't know. It's just, and it's funny because the old place we had a double booth. So we had 200 square feet in the old place.
Wow.
And we have essentially 100 square feet in this place. And I am doing way better in half the space than I did in the other place, just because it's 2 total different clienteles.
Right.
I have a quick question for you all.
Okay.
How many vendors do you all have in your booths?
Gosh, my place is huge. I think there's about, I want to say there's about 10 or 11 aisles. And it used to be an old grocery store. So as you can imagine, I mean, the aisles are really long. And gosh, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to ask them when I go up there this week. That's a good question. But I know it's a ton of them.
Ours is over 100 vendors. And the space used to be a Big Lots. So that gives you an idea
Oh, yeah.
of how big the store was. Yeah. So, and the one previous had almost twice as many, so close to 200 vendors. So, you know, that, I mean, you may think, wow, it's great to be in such a big place, but people would come in and they would never make it to your space. So,
Right.
you know, it has its ups and downs as far as being a larger place. I mean, it's great for probably the owners. But as far as us, people would get halfway through. There's a cafe. They'd sit down, eat. My feet hurt. I'm going home. So, you know, it didn't always work out so well. And in fact, it was funny because in the old place, the first aisle, they had a list this long of people trying to get in. Like if somebody moved or left, people wanted to be in that first aisle because as you came in the door, that's the first aisle you went down. So there was always a shuffling of people within the building to get to that, what they considered a prime space.
Right.
Right. The antique mall that I'm in, I think we have about 130 vendors, but a lot of those are shelving units. Like we don't have a whole lot of like big booths. If I were to guess, I would say probably, as far as big booths go, I would say maybe 50.
Yeah. That's still a good number.
And our building, actually the new one that I'm in, it used to be an old CarQuest building. So that kind of gives you an idea sort of how big it is. It's not huge, but it's not real small either. So, yeah.
Right. Shane Rise and Grind Picker asks, how long did you have to wait to secure a space in the antique mall? Do you have to go on a waiting list? That would also be a good question to ask if you were interested about getting a booth for yourself. Is there a waiting list? Am I going to have to wait a long time before I can even get in?
Oh my gosh, you would not believe the list to get into our place now. It's over 700 people.
Oh my gosh.
And the owners are awesome people. They have a great reputation in the town. They're really just really good people, and you really want to be there. You want to make the business a success, and that people know that. So we've been open 2 years, and we have people come and go, of course, and there's just a lot of people. But I always tell people when they come in and I tell them it's that long, they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you know what? Just get on the list anyway. Because when people say, oh yeah, sign me up for the list, by the time they get to your name, their circumstances might have changed and they'd say, oh, I can't do it anymore, or I don't think it's going to work right now. Or so they'll keep going down that list. And I know it's a little bit of a long shot, but it's better to be on the list. And when they get to you, say, I can't, than to, you know, debate it and the list is getting longer and longer. But last I knew, it was 700, a little over 700 people.
Good grief. That is a long list.
That is a lot.
Yes.
Actually, my situation's a little bit different because when we were at the old place, I don't think there was very many people waiting. I'm going to say, if I were to guess, I would say maybe 15, 20 people. And when my name got put on the list, I thought that I was going to have to wait a long time. And within a week, she called me. So, and then, but now that the new place, evidently, because I think that the new place where we're located is a better location and people know more about what we are and what we do. Mm-hmm. And so I think as of right now, there's about 60 people on the waiting list where I am now. So. Right.
And I do believe there is a wait list for ours, but I feel bad to say I don't even know for sure how many people it is. But it sounds like that's going to be pretty normal with any antique mall to expect a wait.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Vincent asks, do any of you ever source discount stores to find stuff for your booths and clearance? That's a good question.
I wouldn't say that I ever specifically look for that. If I happen to be somewhere, it's more of a commodity item at that point, and a lot of times that stuff for me will go on eBay. But as far as, just buying stuff in a store and taking it to the booth, that's a rare thing for me, because a lot of people have already been to that store and they've already seen that item and they already know it's discounted. So usually not for the booth, no.
Yeah. And for me, I would say it would probably be the same. Like, just if I accidentally stumble upon it, it might be something I would consider. But again, I would have to weigh the balances between eBay versus the booth for sure. And maybe even Amazon if it's brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Tam?
Now, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Okay, he says, do any of you ever source discount stores to find stuff for your booths and clearance?
I have found a couple places or a couple things at like Marshall's or TJ Maxx in their like clearance area. Not very much, maybe one or two things. But actually, something's funny here recently. I went to a Cracker Barrel and they had a bunch of stuff 80% off. So I got a few things there.
My goodness, you did. I love Cracker Barrel stores.
Yeah.
I forget that I'm even hungry. I want to shop so much. I love it.
Yep. So yeah, I did find a few things in there for 80% off for like summer for next year that I'm going to put back.
So smart.
Yeah, because a lot of times Cracker Barrel, when they order stuff like the next year, they don't order the same things. And usually what I'll do is if I find like if they've got 2 or 3 things there and they're discounted like 80% off, I'll buy them all.
Yeah, that's smart.
So you probably go there to eat and everybody's waiting and you're like, wait, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, I got this whole armful of stuff. I need to buy all this.
Go get a table. I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, another question. Lonnie Garage Flips asked, how important do you think it is to have a theme to your booth rather than just sell whatever? I think that's a good question, because I've definitely in my mall, I have seen booths that were themed, right? Mm-hmm. Like there might be a taxidermy booth or there might be a vinyl records booth. So I guess he's asking how important it is that you have a theme or not.
I guess like there are booths like that in my antique mall that are sort of themed, but pretty much everybody has several different things in their booths. Like there's a few people that have shelves and like one person might sell only clothes in that area. Then there might be another small shelving unit where they sell the pull tags for like, like if you need a badge, the badge tags, the pull. There's one booth that sells only those. But there's not very many that are specific to one type of thing. Most of them have a variety of different items. So, and I guess it does pretty good.
A single theme or a very small theme type booth is appealing to look at. But I just think that the more stuff you have, the more likely you are to draw people into the booth. I mean, if you're walking by and everything's pink and frilly, most people, a lot of women might look in there, but I don't know, it just seems like you're limiting yourself. And in my experience, I have a little area where it's a lot of guy stuff, or I have kitchenware, or I have handmade things, and I want people to be drawn in to look around and see something they might not have seen had they just glanced from the aisle and said, oh, that's all girl stuff, or oh, that's all clothes, or that's all this or that. So, I mean, I like to have a variety of items that will appeal. I like to think that people who come in can find something in my booth. Everybody can.
Right. Glenn, the swamp picker, brings up a really good question, and he says, has anyone ever had anything stolen? So I'll go first on that one. To me, I feel like I've definitely had things that have gone missing. As a matter of fact, just last month, I walked into my booth and there were 3 jewelry tags laying on the ground. The jewelry was gone and the tags were just laying there. So, and they were all 3 gold tone necklaces. that looked like real gold, but they weren't. They were just gold tone. And I think I was asking about $10 or $15 a piece. But for me, I feel like that's between them and the man upstairs if they steal something from me, because whatever I put in my booth, I feel like, if I don't know, if they steal it, they steal it. That's all I can say. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You can put it like a fake security camera, maybe, to kind of deter people from wanting to do something like that, maybe. What do you guys think?
It is inevitable. If you are in a retail situation, you are going to have things stolen. I think that what I know about is pretty small. I'm sure if I knew everything that's been stolen, I would probably be really upset. I hate dishonesty in any form or fashion, and that's definitely something that really irks me. I've had like a basket in my area. I've opened it up and there's been jewelry tags. There's been, somebody pulled the tag off and hid it. You go to move something and there's a tag underneath. It doesn't happen all the time, but it will happen. Mm-hmm. So there's not much you can do about it. I don't have super expensive items in my booth. When I get something stolen and I paid $1 and I have it for $20, I've lost $20 in my mind. So yeah, I mean, it's upsetting, but unfortunately it's going to happen. People do not steal out of need 99.9% of the time. It's not like I'm selling bread and there's some poor person stealing a loaf of bread from me. It's all stuff that nobody needs.
Right.
Nobody can't live without, so as much as it aggravates you, it is going to happen.
Yes. Have you experienced that, Tam?
Well, for me, I had one thing go missing. And I don't know if it was stolen or not, but the lady that owns the vendor mall actually recouped that cost for me, which was awesome. But one thing about ours, we have security cameras all through our vendor mall. And we have little signs all through the vendor mall and all the booths that say "Smile, you're on cameras," video surveillance. So that kind of deters a lot of people, from theft. But just like Jen said, yeah, it's going to happen. When you're in a retail space, it's going to happen. And people are getting more and more clever about how to steal things. But so far, we've been very fortunate. Before I was there was actually an incident of theft, and they caught the lady. And the lady that owns the vendor mall went to court and won the case. So,
wow.
She's very vigilant on that stuff. She does not like it.
Yeah, we had a vendor that sells a lot of coins. He had them in locked cases, and I guess the person was in there with something, grabbed some. He came in. We caught him on surveillance coming in. He wasn't even there for maybe 2 minutes, so he evidently knew exactly what he was doing. Grabbed it, ran out. We got him going in and out on the surveillance camera. Called the police, made a report. The guy had been stealing somewhere else recently, and they did nab him and get him arrested. So that was good. But, as far as little things going missing, we don't have any employees at our mall. It's a co-op situation. It's all other vendors who are working. So we have a lot of, hey, how you doing? Can I help you carry that up? So that's a huge deterrent in saying to someone, can I help you out? Or what are you looking for? Because people who are going to steal this, they want you to be left alone. They don't want you to talk to them. They don't want you to follow them. So, being friendly and having that customer service has a dual purpose, definitely.
That's true. And in our vendor mall, we always have two people, somebody that works the desk to check people out, and then we have somebody that's walking around the mall as an extra security, to kind of deter that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times, Lonnie pointed out that people might pick up things and decide they don't want it and set it in another booth. So you might think something has gone missing because you don't see it on your report, but then it shows up again in a month in your booth. So maybe that's what had happened there.
Right, and that has happened in usually if something goes missing, that's the first thing that they do is they go around to the other booths to see if it's been dropped off in somebody else's booth.
Right.
So, yeah.
I've been walking through the mall and I see something, I go, I have something just like that. That's mine. So yeah, because I'm like, then I'm curious. Oh, they have the same thing. I wonder how much they have on their. Oh, it's mine.
It's my, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, as long as we're talking on this subject, Vincent asked, do your malls ever put up like signs, like pictures of people that have been known to steal in the past? He says he's seen that at many malls he's been to. And I know, pretty sure Vincent's like in the Pennsylvania area.
I've seen that in other vendor malls in the surrounding areas, other ones that I've been to, but ours does not do that.
Yeah, and I've never noticed. I'm definitely going to pay attention when I go up there this week. I'll have to notice that.
No, you don't do something like that. I don't know. I don't know. That seems a little tacky, but I can understand the frustration, and especially if it's someone who is a repeat person. But I don't know. There seems like there could be illegal things with blasting someone's picture in the front of the store.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too.
So I don't know. We try and keep that low key and positive, and so no, we don't do that.
Okay. Let's see. Garage Flits, Lonnie asked, do y'all ever go to the antique mall and just observe the patterns of customers, like what catches their eye and how long they stay in booths, etc.?
I haven't done that. Of course, the way that Jen's works is, she's there, working in the vendor mall, that the way that theirs is set up. Mine's not set up like that. We have employees. So really the only time that I go down there, I don't really have time, but when I go down there, I'll kind of, watch people and observe, but,
Right. One of the things that I do, I don't necessarily follow people around, if you will, but I do notice whenever I'm shopping the mall myself, I pay attention to what people are carrying around in their hands or what kind of items they've put in their cart.
Yeah, I do that too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's see Tonya stalking people. What are you doing?
Right, I'm not following you.
Yeah.
What you got in your cart over there?
When you're there and you're observing that, like I said, when somebody's in the booth, I'll step out, and then they don't necessarily know that you're not just a shopper,
Right.
and you can overhear some funny conversation. I was there one day, and my sister and I were stocking, and this lady walked in, so we stepped out, and her husband walked up, and he stops, and he goes like this, and he looks at the booth, and he goes, "Look at all this crap." And I just started laughing. I'm like, spoken like a true man,
Right?
So, but it's funny to see that, or like if I'm working for the day, kind of see what's going through the registers, what are people interested in, what are people asking about. I a lot of times will work the customer service desk, and people come up, I'm looking for this type of item, would you happen to know where that is? And so that gives you a lot of feedback as to what people are looking for and that type of thing. So, and I think as a co-op situation and not having employees, everyone feels more involved and feels more of an investment and feels like this whole place is my business, and I want to do things to help it succeed. So I think that's really a benefit to the co-op situation that we're in.
Right. Garage Flips asked another great question. He says, do y'all have a sign in your booth? And if so, what does it say?
I do.
Tell us about it. I'm going to want to see a picture.
It's just like, it's on like a metal stand, and it's chalkboard. And I had my sister, she's able to do the vinyl letters, and I just had her put Tam's Place on there, and I just have it set up on top of one of the display pieces so people know that that's my booth.
Oh, I love that. I don't have one yet. I need to get one. I take pictures to try and get ideas of what I can do myself, but I just haven't done one yet. What about you, Jen? Have you and your sister done one?
My sister actually has one because she, when she makes items, she kind of trademarks them and has it written on the tag. And it's once loved, twice treasured.
Okay,
and she has
I like
that hanging up in, up on top of the booth. So I guess that's the name of our booth.
Yeah, I did kind of have a name when I was doing it with my grandma. I think it was called two hens or something crazy like that. We named it on Facebook, but we never, I never actually made a sign for it.
I found kind of a sort of a picture. I don't know if you all will be able to see it or not, but I can try to show you.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Let me lock the screen on you. Oh, that is cute. I love that. So that's vinyl lettering?
It's vinyl lettering that my sister was able to do. And when I bought the sign was actually, it was on clearance, and I believe I got it at Ross.
Okay.
And the outside part of it was like a teal color, and I didn't really like the color of it, so I just painted it like a cream color with like chalk paint, and then she put the letters on there for me.
Yeah, that cream color really stands out. It really pops. Let's see here. We do have some more questions. I'm just trying to sort the order. Beauty for Ashley asks, what happens if a customer broke something or knocked down a whole shelf of breakables?
Go ahead, Jen.
You know, a certain amount of people, it's kind of like if somebody gets out at the grocery store and the wind catches the door and they bump it.
Yeah.
A very small percentage people will say, hey, I broke something. We have found broken items in our booth. If they say something, a lot of times they'll say, I'll pay for it. So, you know, we'll usually do that, or we'll cut them a little bit of a break on it, or it is a vendor decision what they want to do. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't stand up and say, you know, I did that. So.
Right. That's a good point. Definitely. I don't know necessarily that I would make somebody pay for it, but I'm not there all the time. So I would never even know anyway, unless the owners told me the next time I came in.
Yeah, same with me. We had an incident here a while back that there was a lady in there, and she accidentally bumped into one of the shelving units, and because the vendor had stuff stacked, and it was like, you know, one piece of furniture on top of another, and it wasn't real stable.
Yeah.
So, you know, she didn't charge the lady because it was kind of sort of not, you know, I mean, it was her fault she bumped into it, but it was kind of sort of the vendor's fault too for not having it more secure. So she didn't charge her for the broken items. So.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about setting up your booth in such a way that you're not going to injure a customer. That's really bad for repeat business.
Exactly.
Next to me, we have a double space, and the person had a ladder across the top and had stuff hanging from that. And after about a month, the center was kind of, ooh. So I said to the owner, I'm like, I'd mentioned to them they need to do something to shore that up, you know, if that thing comes down, you know. So, or if you have, you know, shelves like you do in your house, you know, attach them to the wall, excuse me. So, you know, because the kids get away from them, they pull it, it could fall. I mean, you could really hurt somebody. So, you know, when you're setting your stuff up, you really got to keep, you know, that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. And I just want to change gears real quick for a second. Mother's Mustache is in the chat, and she had said that she had tried owning a booth and it just wasn't working out for her. But she, you know, and she says that she thinks it looks like it would be a lot of fun. But you know what I would suggest to people who are a little unsure is to start out maybe with just like one of those shelving options, right, Tam, like you were talking about. Like, don't go in with a whole booth initially. Like, if you can find a mall that just offers like one shelving unit, you know, maybe just start out with something small.
Right? Exactly. I agree. I started out actually at the old vendor mall. I started out, the booth that I had was $75 a month, and I was really nervous because I thought, oh gosh, you know, what if I don't make my rent? What's going to happen? Right. You know, but the way that my vendor mall works is if there's not like a contract, or there's a contract you sign, but it's not like you're not bound for like 6 months or something.
Yeah, not like a lease or something.
Right. It's not like a lease. So like if you decide you don't want to do it or you're not making your money, then you can just always quit if you want. Is that Tater, Jen?
I mean, he is talking about something.
He is.
You got to give it some time too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think your expectations of going in is you think right away you're going to start making money. It takes a while. If there's a learning curve, just like eBay, just like any other platform, and even from where we used to be to where we are now, there's things that I couldn't sell there or could sell there that are, it's like the complete opposite here. Or there's things I sold for a certain amount, I can get more here. So there is a learning curve, you know, because you think, we did this for 7 years, we know what we're doing. Well, it's a total different area. You have total different clientele. So
Right.
there is a learning curve. So you have to give yourself, I would say, at least, my opinion, 3 or 4 months, if not longer, to kind of say, okay, here's what's selling. Okay, this is doing well, this not so much. You know, there is a delta. You know, you have to, not everything you bring in is going to sell, just like everything you put online to sell isn't going to sell. No matter how good you are, you're going to have duds. That's just the way it is. So,
Right.
and that learning curve, you got to be, you know, you have to really be patient and figure that out.
Right. So Lonnie, thank you so much for all the questions. You guys all have great questions.
Oh yeah, great.
But he asked, are you negotiable on prices in your booth? Like, does the shopkeeper have any latitude? For me, I know, like my booth, I think if you ask, they'll automatically take 10% off, but you got to ask. And then if they want more than that, I've had the mall call me and say, hey, I have a customer here and they want to pay this. Will you accept it? And like, you know, I almost always accept it, right? If they're going to go through the trouble of making that call and I'm still going to make a profit, I'm going to accept it.
Yeah, for me, they have it set up where they keep a tablet up there, and like they'll ask you, is there a certain amount if somebody asks that we can, they don't promote that by any means.
Exactly.
But if somebody asks, you know, would they come down on this? And you can like set it up to where, okay, if anybody asks, I can do 10%. And that's the, you know, if somebody wants more off than that, then you'll need to call me.
Right.
The way that I have mine set up is they call me no matter what. And I don't get very many calls because usually, I mean, there's not very many people that ask.
Exactly.
But,
I don't get a whole lot of calls.
Yeah, they do from time to time, but not very many. So, yeah.
Yeah, with our place, they have a few things automatically set up. If you have an item that is under $25, the store policy is we don't call at all. So that's, you know, people say, well, can I get a discount? Say, well, store policy is we don't call for anything under 25. We have a little, you know, like a card box with everybody's, you know, information on it. And you can put on there, you know, can we call you for a price change? Yes. I have, you can, anything over 25, you can take 10% off. Don't call me, because I've had a few people make some mistakes and not hear what I said. And I've had a few things go out the door a lot cheaper than they should have. So I kind of just put that automatic thing on there. And the only time I really get a call is if something's in the booth and it's the prices fell off, or I forgot to price the item. So I have that automatic on there. So, but it is a vendor, you know, a vendor situation. So if someone says, can I get a discount? Would they take less? Well, it depends on the vendor. You know, what are you offering? I'll go, you know, check. So you read the card first, because if it says 10% or don't call me and you call them, they're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But you read over that card, and then if it says, yeah, call me, then you call and go from there. So I just, the less calls I get, I'm fine with that.
Right. Thelma Thrift asked, how do you get a repeat buyer engaged? Like, I guess, how do you get them to come back and shop at your booth and keep them, you know, wanting to come back? And I think, yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I think if you have certain items you carry regularly, that's a big thing. I think when you look at our booth, and I'm sure this is probably true of you guys, you see me and my sister's personality in the booth.
Yes.
Like if you walked around our mall, you'd say, yeah, that's their space. So I think people who are drawn to that, drawn to the things that we have and our taste, keep coming back. So that's, just keep having really good merchandise, keep things moving around, offer, decent prices. Some people up there, their booth is like a museum. It's not a store. Nothing moves. They go in, they dust every week, and it's like, I don't want a museum. I don't want to dust. I want to go in and fill empty spaces every week.
Yeah.
So, that's what you keep people, keep people interested. If I always tell people, think about your mall. Are there booths that you walk past that you've never walked in? And you think, why is that? Why have I never stepped in there? It's because of A, B, and C. Well, then that's the kind of thing you want to say, well, I really don't want to do that, or I want to steer away from that. Other booths you walk by and it's just like you get giddy because you're like, oh, look at all the goodies.
Yeah.
So, So, you need to think about that. When you're there, think like a shopper. What draws you in? What makes you keep walking? And that's what you need to keep concentrating on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So Thelma also asked, how do you keep kids out? And she says, I keep toys high and away at my garage sales and don't hesitate to use my teacher voice, laughing out loud. All right.
Well, it's interesting because at my mall, the owner, she's very, we have a sign up that says if you are under 18, you have to be with an adult or a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And she will, if people come in there and just let their kids run, she will go over and tell them, there are breakables in here. And, we do have a policy that your children need to stay with you. So she's pretty strict about that, as far as kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really liking this lady that runs your mall.
I know. I promise. I was just thinking the same thing. She is on her
I think I get along with her just fine. She seems like a real straight shooter.
She's good. I love her to death. She's really awesome. Yeah.
That's so funny. I know, like for me, I try to keep the breakables up a little bit higher, right? And stuff that it's okay if it falls over on the lower part, right? Like the books, it's okay if they get knocked over. Sometimes I might have some vintage stuffed animals in there. So, and unfortunately, that's something that might actually draw the kids in. Now that I think about it. So.
Yeah, like you said, keeping breakables higher. We also have a few strollers. We don't have carts. That's something else. I heard somebody mention they have carts. We don't have carts because not only the expense, but bumping into things. We have a system where if you're walking around and you're holding on to something, we have tags. We'll have one that has 2 numbers on it. We'll give one number to you. We'll take it up front. We have a whole area we have shelves. So when you come up to the front to pay, you just hand them that. We bring your items over. So that's something. We do have a couple of strollers. So if you see kids acting out a little bit, you kind of give them the friendly, hey, if little Johnny's tired, we have strollers up front, and hint, hint.
Contain that child.
Yeah. So sometimes that helps. Yeah.
We don't have strollers, but we do have carts, and we also have the baskets with the handles. We don't have very many, just a few. So yeah.
Yeah, we have buggies too, big carts, like you would see at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So Mother's Mustache asks, is it normal for them to take a percentage of each sale? I know my mall takes 10% of each sale.
Yeah, mine too.
10%.
Yeah, mine, you have a choice. Mine does take 10%, and then I have 160 for the rent. I could choose to pay, I don't even know how much it is because I've never done it, pay a little bit higher, and then they won't take a percentage. But anybody who puts anything in the common area in the back, that's an automatic 10%, because that's a courtesy from the owners. They don't really have to do that. But so, when you put something back there, you put your vendor number and then you put F behind it for furniture. So when it comes through, that has an automatic 10. I always forget to put the F on there because I'm so used to them taking 10% anyway. So they're always on me saying, no, don't forget to put that. I'm like, I know. So, but I'd rather pay less and then build that 10% into what I'm asking for an item. So that's, I mean, it's not even a big deal to me because I automatically think, bump it up just a teeny bit, and that takes care of that amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Vincent says, every part of the country is different, but what items move faster than you can get them into your booth? So I guess he's asking us about our super fast sellers.
Mine actually for this past month was designer purses. They moved really fast. I just couldn't got them in there, and within a day or two they were gone.
What do you do to discourage people from just putting that purse on their shoulder and walking out with it? I mean, do you have like a big tag on it?
Well, I actually saw this. Another vendor was doing this in her booth, and she was zip tying them to something.
Oh, that's
and so, and then she put a little sign up that said, to purchase designer purses, please ask at the front desk, or some kind of sign like that.
That's a great idea.
And I had a one of my display pieces in my booth was a quilt rack, and I would hang my purses on that quilt rack, and I would zip tie them to the rods on the quilt rack. So, I mean, you could pick the whole quilt rack up, but if you wanted to steal a purse, you need to carry the whole thing out. So yeah, and that's worked out pretty good. So.
And I'm curious because I know you mentioned you sell clothing and shoes. What's to prevent somebody from slipping on a pair of shoes and walking off? What do you do in that area?
There's not really anything. Like I said, one of the cameras is directly on my booth, one of the security cameras. Okay. And like I said, we have like little tiny signs on our shelves that say, smile, you're on camera, or surveillance, or something like that. So I think that kind of deters that.
That is such a great idea. And I bet you I could buy some little bitty signs. They're probably just little bitty plaques and stick some on the shelves in my booth.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a really great idea.
The lady that owns the vendor mall, she actually just prints like little signs out on the computer and laminates them, and then she just puts them around in the people's booths, so that way people know that there are cameras and they're,
Well, that sounds a lot more cost effective than going out and buying some plastic plaque. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if somebody comes in and they have their mindset that they're going to take something, or that impulse to take something, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a good idea, but for somebody to say, hey, I think no, says I shouldn't take it. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, there are people that have that mindset or that impulse where they see something and they're going to take it. We have the option in our mall where you can bring in your own box and have it locked, or a cabinet. So that's something you can put within your mall or within your booth, and then the key goes up front. Then if someone wants to see something or wants to buy something, one of the walkers, we call them walkers, will go up, get the key, sign the key out, and go get it. And then they can make sure it's upstairs or up by the registers and ready to go when the customer goes. So it's not like we're going to hand it to you, you're going to walk around with it. So a lot of people choose to do that. They have, really small ones, or some people have a whole cabinet. So, that can help too. That's an option. Because you were talking about having shelves already in the booth. When you come in, the booth is a blank canvas. There's nothing there.
Same
so
here.
You can go in, you can paint, you can wallpaper, you can do anything you want to that space. But every display piece, every shelf, that is all on the vendor to do. There's nothing supplied.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we put my shelving up, but whenever you walk in and you originally first get the space, it's definitely an empty space. There's nothing there except maybe a pegboard. And from what I understand, you're lucky to even have that there when you move in. So, yeah.
Yeah,
so
mine was a square with no walls or shelves or anything. It was just a blank square on the floor.
That's hard.
Very
challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have done it without my grandpa and my husband's help, because without those shelves that I have, I couldn't display near the amount of items I'm able to.
Yeah.
Let's see. Vincent has a question. He says, how long do you let merchandise sit in your booth before you remove it? That's a great question.
Forever.
I agree, Jen. Forever.
I hate taking stuff home. I hate taking stuff home. Usually, if I'm thinking this has been here a while, I'll move it to the opposite side of the wall or a different place. And usually within a few weeks it goes. So if that's the case, then, you know, if it's something I was kind of on selling anyway, then I'll just, you know, I'll go ahead and bring it home, maybe bring it back another time. But, you know, if you move stuff in your booth, sometimes people they just block it out because they're so used to, you know, seeing it. It becomes part of the scenery. So when you do move it, people see it and then they'll buy it. So keeping stuff moving around is really important.
Definitely. I try to move stuff around every single time I go in.
Yeah, I do the same thing. When I go in once a week, I usually try to, you know, just give it a fresh look and move different things around and, you know, make it look a little bit different. Because, you know, when you have people coming in there, it's sometimes you have like repeat customers that come in there once or twice a week. And when they come in and they see the same thing over and over, when you switch things around, it kind of gives them the mindset that, oh, hey, they have new stuff in their booth.
Let's go check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with that. Definitely. Let's see. I don't guess we have any more questions. Did you guys want to add anything else before we close out today's show?
No, just glad to be here.
Yeah,
have a great time.
Yeah, I had fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
All right. Well, we definitely have a lot more to talk about, you guys. And our next show will be on Jen's channel, Pudgy Picker. So be looking for us over there. And we will definitely put out the links for everything so you guys know. And gosh, maybe I should create a Facebook page now that I think about it so that, you know, so people can better find us.
That would be fine with me.
Okay.
So keep in mind too, of course, I got to do a shameless plug on myself, but my sister and I have been for, I think it's been 20 episodes now. Each week we do a podcast called Two Sisters, One Booth, and we talk about everything booth related. Each week we pick a topic and then usually we stick to the subject. But a lot of times we're all over. So it's kind of like you're just sitting there with us having a cup of tea and laughing and being silly and talking about antique booths. So that I put that up every Wednesday. And it's usually about an hour long. And that's on my channel, Pudgy Picker. So please take a look at that. So it's a lot of fun.
Yep, that's a good podcast, Jen. I've listened to almost every one of them. So you all do really good on that.
Thank you. It's something you don't have to watch, you know, you don't have to look at it. So if you're pricing or doing other stuff, it's nice to just listen to it in the background. Yep.
Right. Okay, guys. Well, I have put Jen and Tam's YouTube channels in the description box down below. So I hope that you guys will go over there and subscribe to them and check out their videos on their antique booths. And next time, we'll try and have a picture of our booth just so you guys can get an idea of what we're talking about and the area that we're selling in. Think that sounds good, guys?
Sounds good to me.
I'll make sure and do that while I'm there today.
Yep.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us and hanging out with us in the chat. We really appreciate all your questions. And you can message any of us if you have any questions. And now that I think about it, it might be a good idea eventually at some point just to have a Q&A show, right? I bet you we could accumulate a lot of questions that people are interested in. Okay.
And I think it's really awesome because all three of us are from different parts of the country.
Right. I agree.
You know, different things sell differently and different things work differently in all different parts. So
well, and the malls are run differently too. It might be a co-op, it has employees. So even, you know, depending on the rules, it's a different space as well.
Yep.
Definitely. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next month on Jen's channel. Bye, guys.
Bye.